Rod. How's it going?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
Great. Thanks so much for doing this.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Can you hear everything all right? Everything good?
Yep. Yep, all good.
Cool. Whereabouts are you in the world?
I am in New York City at the moment, in the East Village.
New York City. Originally from there?
No, I'm from Wales in the UK.
Okay. Tell me about growing up in Wales.
It was very quiet. So I'm from like an old coal mining valley, basically. So it's like, obviously very redundant and forgotten about, very sleepy. It's kind of a bit like if there was a Welsh version of Twin Peaks, the David Lynch TV series. It's very much like that.
Okay. Well, how did you get into music?
I don't really know. It's just like there's this old like adage or quote from Welsh culture where it's like, to be born Welsh is not with a silver spoon in your mouth, but with poetry in your blood and music in your soul. I think that's like this old kind of, riddle kind of thing. So I just think I've always had music somewhere there, like singing and listening to it, playing music. It wasn't ever really like a conscious decision to sort of pick up music. It was just something that's always been there, really.
Mm-hmm. And what was the first instrument you learned how to play?
The recorder, like everybody does
sure.
in school, that little shitty thing. And then the flute was my first main instrument. And then piano, then guitar, and then later on like bass guitar, ukulele, saxophone most recently.
Oh wow.
Yeah, quite a few things going on.
So with the flute, were you like in the school orchestra or anything like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Desperately uncool. A while, I think maybe like 4 years or something like that. And then gravitated towards more songwriting leaning instruments like the guitar and the piano and keyboard and stuff.
Okay, when did you start writing music?
I wrote my first song when I was 13. It was awful. Of course it was. And just kind of plugged away at it from then, really, and started doing it, I suppose, more seriously when I was like 16. I started doing it, actually writing stuff that wasn't like grotesque. And then it just went from there.
Did you start like a band or something?
Nope.
When you're just writing songs for yourself? Or were you doing solo performances?
I didn't have kids in my school that were interested in being in a band. Like we had like a joke band, but we weren't an actual band. And then when I went to what we call college and what you call, I don't know, like the 2 years before college, when you're like 17, 18.
Yeah, high school, the end of high school.
Yeah. I started playing shows in like the town and the city next to me, like open mic nights, and started organizing my own shows and doing things properly then. So that's when it kind of really kicked off. And even when I moved to college, university, or London, I just didn't really find people to be like in a band as it was with. So it was always me doing stuff, and then with a few musicians on stage with me. And I just carried on like that, just kind of went.
So it's always kind of been a solo thing for you.
Yeah, it has. Yeah. That's why I think I like collaborating so much, just because that makes it a little bit less lonely and a bit more interesting to have other people's brains in the mix.
Sure. So you've always kind of had a solo thing going.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, which is both good and bad. There's lots of tales of woe about band dynamics and people falling out and like power struggles and whatever. So at least I've escaped that. But it would have been nice to have the unit kind of feeling, like the kind of communal experience on the road, which is very different to you doing it with session musicians or friends.
So you've toured like as a solo artist, because I know you've done big tours with Elton John and stuff, and I don't want to get to that, but like as a solo artist, you've done like the club touring and stuff like that.
Yep.
Okay, and you just brought whoever the studio musicians were.
Yep. Well, actually, no, I play everything on the record, so it's not the studio musicians, it's people that I hire, like session musicians.
Oh, like, session musicians.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, okay. Session musicians that will just tour with you.
Yeah.
Tell me about the first tour you did. Was that kind of hard to organize with people that weren't in your band?
Yeah, it was. So I taught a lot just me for a while. I was using like loop pedals and different instruments and stuff like that. And then the first time that I got other people on board was difficult because then you have to like divide out the parts and really become like a musical director, which I wasn't experienced at all. And, you know, you have to then start paying people out of the wages that you're not receiving yourself. So you're kind of slipping into debt with every show. It's a really different experience. And it's really fun in lots of ways, but it's really stressful. And it's really hard because it's not their music. So you don't really have that like shared ownership of it, I guess.
Right, yeah, or passion for it.
Yeah. And I've been really lucky. I've worked with some incredible session musicians, particularly in the last like 4 or 5 years where it's been a lot more kind of steady. But it is a really different mode of touring, going from doing it by yourself and then trying to show other people what to play and like trying not to be mildly irked if they don't sound right.
right. Kind of have to give up a little bit of the control to other people.
Yeah.
So tell me about how'd you get to New York and was this years later? Like what kind of evolved from those early tours?
I moved to New York in 2013 after I put out my first record, primarily because I wanted to see if living somewhere else would bring out different types of songwriting and production skills.
Okay.
You know, you live somewhere all your life, or like the UK, I lived all my life, and there's such a mindset there in the music industry that is toxic is strong, but I'm going to say toxic. And it's they have their way that they have things done, you know, like every country does. Like people don't shift around too much. So I just thought I'd like to see what it felt like from the outside, and met different musicians and different singers that really opened my mind, and I learned a lot from them. So it was cool to just sort of experiment a bit and take a step back from everything that I thought I knew, and like listen to people and push myself, like test myself, and it felt great. So I stayed. I loved it after that.
Yeah. So you put your first record out in
2012.
2012, right before you moved to New York.
Yes.
And was that put out on a label, or did you just do that all independently?
It was technically through my old management company's label, but it was me.
Yeah. So you wrote everything, recorded everything, and
Yes.
kind of distributed it.
Yes.
Okay.
So it was very independent, you know, the first release, and then with the second album, that was through my own label, and had a bit more of a kind of, not a machine behind it, but it had more of a team around it that I kind of assembled, and we've just been building it up since then, really, kind of like record by record.
Was that Life Is Easy? Was that your second album?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Okay, tell me about that record, because I know it has a feature from Elton John on it, and how did you get that? And tell me about all that.
Well, it was crazy. So I was writing the record. Some of it had been written before I moved to New York, and some of it I wrote when I was here. So I'd been like demoing songs and traveling around, and had become friends with Elton at that point. So
how did you meet him originally?
His management company used to look after me as like one of their very new artists back in the day, before I put out my first record. And you know, the relationship didn't go very well professionally, even though we liked each other. So I parted ways with them very amicably, and you know, did my thing. And Elton loves new music, so he kept tabs on me. And when I put out the first record, he saw the review, so he called me and was like, "Oh, I saw the great review," and invited me for lunch, and we became friends.
Wow, that must have been a pretty insane phone call to receive.
Yes, it was.
Hey, it's Elton
It was
John.
wild. It was really wild. So through becoming friends, you know, he's interested in what I was doing. And so I was sending him demos, and then he agreed to sing on one of the songs. And yeah, then I had the album ready after that. We were just like talking about timelines and stuff, and he just asked me to go on tour with him. So I set the album release date sort of around the touring, and things just kind of went from there. It was a really like It felt like a really hurried experience now in my memory of like trying to scramble to get everything together and like get everything ready to go out and announcing stuff and the album coming, and it felt like such a whirlwind in time.
Wow. So did you opened up for him as a solo, as like his opening act on his tour?
Yes,
Oh
for a year and a half.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
How that must have been amazing. So you're obviously playing gigantic stadiums.
Yeah. Like where do you live?
I live in San Diego, so just
Okay,
south of LA.
so we played in San Diego at like, was it like the ice rink or something like that? Or
oh no, yeah, the sports arena.
Yeah, we played at the sports arena in San Diego.
Yeah, so that's huge.
Yes, it's wild. It's absolutely wild. Yeah, it was an incredible tour. It wasn't the first big tour that I'd done, because I'd done Ellie Goulding and Scissor Sisters, but they were not the same scale. You know, they were like
they're
4
big.
to 5,000, but then Elton's like 15,000.
Yeah.
So
right.
Yeah, it was a big jump, and it was an amazing tour, particularly the American shows where the audiences were so awesome, and I got to like drive around America, which was really cool. You know, seeing the countryside and meeting lots of different people. It was really fantastic. Really like an incredible moment in time where I got to tour with a friend of mine and with two people that I really like being on stage with, opening up in these like gigantic venues that I never thought that I get to play. So it was just absolutely mind blowing.
Yeah. Wow. Did you have your own crew of people, and like, were you on your own bus, or did you get to jump on with him? Like, how did it work?
Girl, like, no. It was us in a in like a Sprinter van.
Oh,
you know, like
okay. Just following him around.
Just, yeah, four of us. And there was a really intense couple of days where we had to drive from Denver to, no, it wasn't. It was Salt Lake City to Denver or something like that, which was like a 12-hour drive through the night to make it to the next show on time. And then we got there and I had a day of press to do. So my band got to sleep and I was just awake. And then that night I had to fly to Portland at like 5 a.m. or something like that. No, not Portland, sorry, San Francisco, to make it to play at Folsom Festival at noon the next day. So I had to stay up through the night, got to the airport, then flew, landed in San Francisco, got there, picked up another band who were doing the shows there with me, picked them up, got to the stage, did the performance, and I think it was something like 38 hours later, I got to go to bed, and I was delirious.
Oh
like,
my gosh.
Yeah, it was absolutely like bone-shatteringly strange. I didn't know who I was by the end of it. It was like crazy.
So you went from the tour with Elton John. You fly to San Francisco, and you did what, Folsom Street Fair or something?
Yeah, and then flew like right back.
Crazy amounts of people and like a big party.
Yeah,
and you still haven't slept, and you got to go back and fly home. Oh my god!
And then flew up to Portland to do the next couple of shows without them there. Yeah, wild.
Wow. Yeah, that's wild. Excuse me. You did say that you toured with the Scissor Sisters tour, and the Ellie Goulding tour was before Elton John.
Yes.
How did you get those shows? And I'm sure those were still pretty massive rooms you're playing in.
They were really great. Like with Ellie, I was managed by the same company as her at the time.
Oh, okay.
And so, they thought it might be a good fit, and I sent her like a little mixtape of songs I liked, and a mixtape of my own songs, and she liked them and took me on the road, and she was great. She was such a sweetheart, and she worked so hard. It was really cool to watch her grow like as an artist from her first album to the current album. And she works really hard, and it's really good to see somebody with that work ethic succeed. It felt amazing. I'm so proud of her. Scissor Sisters tour was great. It was super flamboyant, really fun, great audiences and really cool venues, which were all good experience to then get you ready to be on stage with someone like Elton.
Yeah. And I also did read you did Cher, Erasure, like these are, and were those all similar? Did you get to play like a run of shows with Cher and a run of shows?
Yeah, we did 27 with Erasure and then 9 with Cher. And that was last year.
Oh my god! So tell me about the Cher shows. were those just as big as Elton? I'm sure
were they bigger? Some of the same venues.
Okay.
In Germany, we played at like some of the same venues that I played before, and in Denmark, I think was the same venue. No, Denmark was the same venue as Eurasia. And then the final show that I did with Cher was the biggest show that she's ever done, which is, if you can imagine, and obviously the biggest show that I've ever done. It was 30,000 people, and that was 8,000 more than I did with Elton, or maybe 5,000 more than I did with Elton.
30,000. Where was that show?
It was in Stockholm, in a sports arena, like the biggest thing I've ever seen in my life. It was absolutely it was just it didn't make any sense to me. It was so big.
As an opener for her, was it pretty full still when you come out and play?
Yeah, it was pretty full.
Was it nerve-wracking playing those 30,000 people shows?
It was, you know what the weird thing is? Not so much, but it's nerve-wracking when you walk in and you see how big the empty space is. But then when you see it with people in it, it feels so different and it feels so much better that it's just like a different experience. Like you walk onto stage and it makes sense, but the empty room makes absolutely no sense.
Right. Wow. But still, I mean, I can't imagine walking out so you made a pretty big, was that jump pretty quickly or no? Like going from, you're doing your own solo tours and then now you're touring with Ellie Goulding. So now you're going to 5,000 people rooms. Then you're jumping up with Elton John to.
Well, I mean, the thing is you're doing your own tours in the midst of this as well. So it's never really been a separation. It's just it's not one leads to the other and then you don't have to do the other again. It's it's always ebb and flow. So you do small shows and then big shows, small shows, big shows, small shows, big shows.
Sure.
It's not really possible as an independent artist to go as an opening act on that level and then stay at that level because not every single person there is watching you.
Right.
So it's a weird maths that kind of follows that trajectory. It's it's interesting slipping in and out of both worlds.
Sure. Wow. Okay. Well, and from those, how you tell me about, after the Ellie Goulding tour, what out? You said you put a record out right before doing the Elton John tour. Mm-hmm. What happened after that? That album was out. What was the next thing that happened for you musically?
Well, I was on tour with him for a year and a half after that. So that was the year, basically. The year and a half was just touring that record and being wherever he was in the world.
Right.
Which was just kind of insane, trying to keep up the momentum of having a song out every so often just so it kept the album buoyant. And also trying to think about writing and recording in the midst of that, snatched moments.
Yes. So how did you, because if you put that record out, you said in 2013 or 14?
14.
Yeah. So 14, 15. So you're in 2015, 16. And then did you release another record after that year and a half touring?
In 2016 was the next record. Yeah.
Okay. And then tell me about that album. Because that one had some Elton John features on it as well, right? Yes.
He was on that 3 times. So that album was written and recorded entirely in New York. And I had a really good time making that record. It was kind of written in the downtime between some of the Elton shows. And it was really influenced by wanting to write songs that would fill that size of space, because I'd been on these huge stages. Mm-hmm. And thinking about being in that size of a room, makes you write differently, I think. And you can be a bit more
kind of writing for that.
Yes.
That room.
Yes.
Okay.
So that was really fun. And then, this time going on tour with Cher and Erasure, I got to perform those songs in a room that was that size, with that intention. And that felt really cool. So that was a really great period of time, I think, making that album. I was really happy and really enjoying that process, and life felt pretty good at that point. It was quite a nice rose tinted, gorgeous period of life.
Sure. And you put out that live record as well with on the Erasure tour. Yeah. That's cool. And that's just pieces of different parts of the tour.
Yeah,
And how did you go about? You just chose your best. Like, how did you go
Yeah.
through maneuvering that?
Basically chose the ones where I sounded best, I think.
But did you know, like, okay, I'm gonna like after that show, like that was the like. How did you have to go back and watch all the
I
performances?
just had to listen to them all back. Yeah. So, you know, we had every night recorded. And then I'd kind of like lay them up against each other and see which ones sounded best, felt best, you know, because sometimes there could be like, you know, the drums were too low in the mix and that's not up to us. It's like we just get like the bounce, like the live bounce.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Yeah. So it was an interesting process listening back to it, like straight after coming off stage where you just really don't, you know
Oh,
how you
so
feel
that
like.
quickly you did it. You're like, okay, I just got off the stage. Let me listen to this. And then.
Yeah. Well, you have a lot of downtime on the tour van, you know, they're long drives, very long drives.
Okay. So did you know going into that you'd want to do a live record and kind of narrowed it down that way, or?
Yeah, I thought it would be fun. I thought it would be a nice little document of time, especially because like Erasure are my favorite band. I thought it would be a nice.
Oh,
nice
wow. Oh, that's cool. I didn't realize that they're your favorite band.
Yeah.
Tell me about that moment, getting that. That must have been pretty insane to be like, hey, do you want to tour with favorite band?
It was really cool. I had done one show with them before, but it was just a one-off. And, you know, I became friends with Vince primarily, actually, after moving to New York, because he lives in Brooklyn. So we started hanging out and talking about music and stuff. And then I met Andy once, I think, just doing the show back in the day. And then his team just really liked what I do, and the fans cross over really well. So they asked me to do the shows, and then, you know, that was fun. Like, it was nice to hang out with Vince and get to know Andy and do all these like incredible venues across Europe. That was a really fun tour. I loved that tour so much. It was really, really fun. Yeah, and you know, Erasure just awesome. Like they have the best catalog in the world.
That's so cool though, to be able to, now you're, you know, friends with these guys that you know, listened to growing up, and kind of, you know, that would be so, that's so like rare, and what an awesome thing to be a part of, like it.
Yeah, it is rare. I mean, doing stuff independently is really difficult, and it's definitely like a hindrance to a lot of people. But the upside is all of the relationships that have come have been very organic, and I'm genuinely friends with almost everyone that I've worked with. You know, apart from like somebody that I had 2 hours with or whatever.
Right.
Like everybody that I've actually collaborated with, I'm still friends with, and we still talk regularly. So that says more to me than like a quick fix of, you know, label pairing you up with somebody and then you do one song and then you don't really orbit each other anymore. It's been a lot more kind of rewarding and satisfying. It's been really nice.
Yeah. I mean, to be like getting the Elton John thing and being friends with Elton John, and then the Erasure thing and being friends with the guys in that band, like what a rad run, and what a cool story. I mean, wow. I'm sure you never imagined growing up, like, yeah, you know, one day you're going to be on a song with Elton John. Like,
no, I didn't even imagine I'd have a song when I was growing up, you know, so that's,
cool. So then the next record, or you put a record out last year, right? In 2019?
No, I did not.
Oh, no, you didn't.
No.
Okay. So when did Make Me Believe in Hope come out?
2012. That was my debut album.
Oh,
I reissued that. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Tough Love is the one I'm thinking of then.
Oh, that was 2018. It's just an EP. Yeah. I mean, EP album. Who knows these days? It's all kind of meaningless to the masses, isn't it?
Yeah. And then now you have some new music out. Tell me about the new stuff.
The new album comes out September the 18th, which has like a crazy number of guests on it. It's called Fun City, and it is it's basically about the LGBTQ plus experience and history, past, present, and it kind of tells about like how our experience has been like dancing through pain and trying to stay strong, focused, and creative in the face of like constant adversity and prejudice. Didn't really expect the level of prejudice that 2020 has brought to us, but you know, here we are. And you know, the idea of it was to amplify people's voices, find new upstarting people who I think are amazing, as well as the, you know, million selling people that I have on it as well. It just happens that it's, you know, highlighting things like, you know, the importance of trans lives and Black lives, and now at least people are talking about it as well. So the timing of it is quite strange, you know, like one of the lead song was about safe spaces and the places that we have as a community to go, like the gay bars, the community centers, whatever. And that song came out the week after they were all shut for quarantine.
Oh
so
my gosh.
It's, yeah, the timing of the record is very strange, but I suppose at least it's very relevant.
Right. And they're all songs that you had written.
Yeah. I mean, the album was mastered in March. Yeah, so it was ready to go.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did that kind of throw a wrench in your release plans? Like COVID?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we were supposed to be headlining like 5 Pride festivals, doing, you know, tours this year, doing like local outreach with like local queer artists across America and the UK, and working with charities. And obviously you don't get to do any of that. I don't get to make any of the visuals that I wanted to now because, you know, we did 2 before quarantine, and we managed to do 1 social distance video the other week, but not with the narrative or the cast that we wanted to use.
Sure.
Because you just can't have that many people in a room now.
Just a scaled back version of what you were thinking of doing.
Yeah, so you're kind of adapting to it, but it is very difficult it's difficult as somebody, as an independent, to cut through the online noise, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's kind of deafening, and like people are not excited about digital content in the way that they were at the start of quarantine, because it's a bit more open everywhere now and you're not stuck indoors. So it's very difficult to only really be able to have digital platforms to share content now, or to share work, given that there's like extreme fatigue for digital content, and an extreme like overabundance of digital content as well.
Yeah, like with that, how it's hard to really promote the record aside from that, right? I mean, are you doing the live streams, or is it just you feel like it's too overwhelming?
I have been doing live streams. I've been doing DJ sets twice a week for the last 23 weeks.
Really? Tell me about that.
Oh God, exhausting. I do like a daytime party normally when the spaces are open every Saturday from 3 till 8. So I've just kept that time scale, and people come online and they make requests in the comments box, and you know, it makes a nice little community, which is really fun. And then for the Wednesdays, I was using them to raise money for different organizations and charities and businesses. So all of those tips and donations went to different causes like Glitz Inc., or to like local bars that were closed, or Black Lives Matter, or the Okra Project, to try and do some like awareness raising and fundraising every Wednesday, playing one artist catalog start to finish. So it was cool. Like a bit more like fan focused. And they were really great events to do during quarantine, but I feel like now I'm taking a step away from them for a couple of weeks just to be able to do everything I need to for the album. And like, it's hot as hell. Nobody's indoors, you know?
Yeah.
Truly.
So with the DJ dance party, or people do you just have like your deck set up and you're spinning, and then people, you can see them kind of dancing around?
Pretty much. Well, I mean, I can't see them. It's not Zoom. It's like Twitch I use.
Oh, you use Twitch. Oh, cool. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's good. You know, it's been a nice exercise. It's like, it just becomes less and less rewarding when you're still not around people 22, 23 weeks later. And it's like, oof.
Right. Yeah, I know. It's getting a little old for sure, staying inside, but yeah. Well, thank you so much, dude, for talking with me today. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, this has been great. I have one more question for you.
Okay.
I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Wow, deep question. Buckle up, girls. It's going to be a long, bumpy ride. Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't know what to say to somebody starting now, honestly, because it's such a different landscape to when I was able to find an audience by touring or by DJing or by doing stuff in person. Like the online experience is really different from being able to connect with people in real life. And I know that for a lot of people, live music is such a savior, and it's such a joy, you know, like not everybody gets to do the job that they want to do, and not everybody gets to live the life that they want to live. So for a lot of people, music is really like this world where they get to enjoy like the things that really connect to them the most. And I do feel for people that don't have that live experience, that they really just cling to, sounds depressing, but that they really like look forward to. And some people have, you know, friends that they go to shows with that they don't really see otherwise if they don't live in the same town or whatever. So that's a really difficult thing at the moment. If you're an aspiring musician, I would say, you know, think about what it is you want to put out with your music. Like, who do you want to be? What do you want to say? How do you want to say it? And how do you want people to see you? Because, you know, if everything is online for a while, you have the control of like curating your identity, and you're finding your audience, like letting them see exactly what you want them to see of you. And if you're able to do online live streams or whatever, online shows, at least you can sort of test out songs without the costs involved with touring around, and hopefully find an audience that when venues can open up again, you're able to go with like a few people in tow. So, you know, think about everything, be smart, be realistic, and just have fun with it. Because if it's not fun, there's just no point.